Because of the way the universe is created, we each of us live in two worlds at the same time. We have to live in the outer life of our own bodies and the inner life of our own souls.
Hello and welcome to Living the Inner Life. I'm your host, Chris Sheridan, and I want you to join with me on a journey and discovery process of exploring our inner lives, our thoughts, our beliefs, everything that we have going on inside our minds and in our hearts, things we feel in our body, and how that is informed by and how we can use our inner life to better inform our choices with thought, speech, and action, and how we interface and interact with the outer world. And it's better, in my belief and the belief of many others, and more profitable if we change ourselves, we alter and adapt and grow these parts of our inner life that will make us stronger, more effective in the outer world, in our total life. Okay? Now, I was listening to a song earlier today by Cheap Trick called Surrender. Surrender, surrender, but don't give yourself away. It's a great old song, and it's one I've loved since I was a kid, and I still like it now. It's fun to play in a band. But I, at first, long ago, thought that surrender, but don't give yourself away. What does that mean? Like, I thought surrender means giving up. So how can you give up and not give yourself away? All right, well, since then, I have grown and experienced in life and have come to the conclusion that that's such a profound statement. That yes, it's possible to surrender, but still keep who you are. Keep your integrity intact, even if you have to give something up. So the word itself, surrender, means to give back to. So if you're surrendering something, and that means to give it back, isn't that okay? Maybe it wasn't mine to begin with. And who or what is this that I'm giving it back to? And what is it that I'm giving? All right. So always my first thing has been to come to mind when I think of the word surrender has been in battle, in a war, when one side puts up a white flag, waves the white flag of surrender, don't shoot, gives up, and then the soldiers are captured, held as prisoners of war, and has maybe a better chance of surviving. Okay, now you're not going to fight in the war anymore because now you're a prisoner of war, but you're probably not going to get shot at either. So it's giving up. It could be a cowardly thing. It is admitting defeat. It's the last chance you have to survive before being killed in this battle, this war scenario. And in a way, that's, I guess, a good thing, all right? Maybe it's a better choice when it comes down to such a desperate situation, all right? Now, I know in alcohol addiction and recovery that surrender is one of the first things you do. It's when you hit rock bottom and you say, okay, I give up. I can't do this anymore. I can't live my life like this anymore. So this surrender happens very early on in a journey of sobriety because you can't hold on to the old way. That has to be given up if you want to have a new way of living your life, a new way of looking at the world, and a new way of experiencing yourself and the people around you. You can't have one foot on the old shore and another foot on the other side and have that work out. You have to let go of the old way so that the new way can come in. The better way, the more harmonious, the life-saving way. Okay? Now, this surrender sometimes can be forced on us. All right? I'll tell you a story about my brother who was at the time taking people out swimming with dolphins and scuba diving on shipwrecks, things like that in the Bahamas. And he had one diver panic. What happened probably many times, but one in particular panicked really bad. It was a big guy, and my brother was able to get him to the surface, and the guy was just thrashing about, grasping at the water, gasping for air, and he was big and strong, and he was knocking my brother underwater, and he thought he was going to kill them both. So what he did is he was actually able to grab a hold of him somehow, and he punched him right in the face. So here's this diver drowning, trying to survive. And what does my brother, the rescuer, do? Punch him in the face. Well, it wasn't that hard, but it stunned him. It wasn't expecting that for sure. But what it did is it caused him to stop what he was doing, because his attention was now diverted to the fact that he's in the open water in the ocean, and the guy trying to rescue him just punched him in the face. And that was enough of a gap. That was enough time and calmness so my brother could reach in and pull the, I guess, inflating extender on the BC vest, his flotation device, so he could float and wait for the boat to pick them up. And the guy was okay, and so was my brother. But this guy was fighting his rescuer, okay? That's how desperate we can hold on to something, even if that's not in our best interest, even if we are preventing something or someone from helping us. It's amazing how stubborn we can be. And I'm not really sure what's behind that. It's pride, it's determination, it's a lot of these things, I guess pride in a good way, but all these things that are good in the sense that you want to be self-reliant and take care of yourself, and I've got this, but maybe sometimes you don't. And at some point, you have to surrender. And sometimes, like this case with the scuba diver, we have to be rendered even more helpless before we're willing to accept the help. Okay, so a lot of people don't get on their knees and pray until situations are beyond manageable. They're beyond control. They're desperate. And it's the last hope. Okay. Now, as we go through and talk about this, maybe there's a way to get to surrender, the correct way of the word surrender, to give up the fight, to give up the struggle against being helped, against progress. We can be our own worst enemies and hold on to something, hold on to our pain, hold on to our wounds, hold on to our resentments. All these things that'll drag us under. We can wrap our arms around them and say, no, I will not let go. This is mine. Even if holding on is the worst thing you can do. All right. Now, I had an experience with surrender. I didn't appreciate it as much at the time, I'll get to that, as I did years later when I was able to reflect and go, wow, that was an amazing thing to do. I was in an air show. I was flying a plane, and I got into trouble, and the plane no longer operated like it should. The engine was going, but the wings stalled, and I was unable to maintain my altitude. I could not scoop out of it. I tried everything I could think of. And the last thing I did, and this is what you're trained to do, it's something you hope you never ever have to use, and that's to call a mayday on the radio. And you say it 3 times. And I was at an airport, so there were people watching. I didn't have to really disclose my location. That's usually so people can kind of find you, I guess, if you crash somewhere. But no, I crashed right at the airport, right nearby. And but I called on the radio. I picked it up, and I knew what I was doing. And it's like, oh my God, this is it. I just assumed I was going to die. And I keyed the mic, and I said, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And I was asked by the tower, what's the problem? I said, this is not good. It's actually a line from Top Gun. A ball just came to my head for some reason. And that was it. That was like the last thing I said before crashing into the ground. And as you can tell, this was years ago. I'm okay. I survived. I've been flying a wheelchair for 30 years now. But what I did in that moment to call Mayday was surrender. I had tried everything I could. Nothing worked. I was out of options, and I just did the unthinkable, and that's called Mayday. Mayday, Mayday on the radio. And I looked up later, the word Mayday, it's not about the 5th month of the year in a particular day or the 1st of May. It's actually from the French, Mayday. It means please help, please help. Please help. So when you call a Mayday, you're actually saying, please help. And I thought that was really interesting. And what was my experience at the time, it was relatively terrifying being in an uncertain condition and situation, very, let's face it, probably deadly situation with an airplane that's crashing out of the sky. And to call a mayday, this please help, after I did that, I felt a sense of calmness. I felt like I was going to be okay, like, oh, well, it's out of my hands now. And I felt a presence. I felt like I was somehow going to be okay, like I was going to actually survive this thing. I figured it was going to be rough, and it was. It really hurt. But I'm okay. I'm still okay. I can still do a lot of the things that I did once before. I've had to adapt in a new way of doing things. But I surrendered. I wasn't holding on to the bitter end all the way down. I let go of the controls, everything. And the plane hit, and I was rescued, and the story goes on, and now we're talking about it. But how interesting to find out later, after the fact, that Mayday really means please help. So I've thought about that over the years, and we don't have to be in a situation of physical peril, like we're going to drown, like my brother's experience, or crashing out of the sky in an airplane, like my experience, or with drug addiction or alcohol recovery when you hit rock bottom. That can happen at a lot of different places for people. Sometimes it could happen very early, when maybe the first time you get arrested for drunken disorderly, and it's like, oh, never doing that again. And you go to rehab and you quit drinking, or you learn how to moderate, or things like that. For other people, it's the third time you're in jail. It's after you lose your family and your business and your reputation and your teeth. And then, oh, okay, I'm willing to give it up and try a new way. Okay? But these are very dramatic and in some ways very external situations where a mayday, where a surrender is so important, and it can be life-saving. I really feel that way. But it can also happen in our inner life. Okay? What is it we're holding on to that might be better if we were to let go and surrender and give back up, maybe to a higher authority, whether that's God or the universe or your higher power or the better part of yourself, the part of you that knows more, that knows better, this all-wise, all-knowing, infinite within that I believe we all have or are connected with to the larger cosmos. We can hold on to old beliefs, old attitudes, old wounds. We can actually become defined by them in such a way that they no longer serve us. And the more we hang on to the bitter end, the more bitter the end is going to be. Okay? And some people don't give it up until they're on their deathbed. And even then they go out kicking and screaming sometimes. And if you believe in reincarnation, they'll just have to come back and pick it up where they left off and go forward, or have some salvation in the afterlife, or everything goes black and you're food for worms. Whatever your belief is, that don't wait that long, okay? You can raise the bottom. This rock bottom doesn't have to be that far down. You can raise it up and say, hey, isn't this bad enough? Isn't this enough for me to say enough? Okay, and what are these things? These are usually things that we've been carrying for a while, or things that we've tried to change or try to improve, or if we're trying to change another person, okay, and not having really good luck with that, or find another person and we go through one person to the next person, okay, or we try this business or that business, or move to this place or go to another place and can't seem to get it together. We're following some kind of a pattern that's ingrained, and that's what we need to give up, okay? And we'll take an example of, for instance, just an attitude, a negative attitude, a pessimistic attitude towards the world, okay? If you're informed at all, if you watch the news, if you get online and Search anywhere. You don't even have to search. It just comes right at you. There's a lot of troubles in the world, and there's a lot of troubled people in the world, okay? Life is difficult. And somehow, through our best intentions and all our programs and government agencies and nonprofits and spiritual groups, we're still having trouble, okay? It's difficult. Life can be rough, and it's rough for so many people. It can be disheartening. It can be discouraging. And if you get a little bit older, you find that you have many, many years of this frustration or discouragement, or at least a mixed feeling. Yes, there's some joys and I have some fun times, but what about all the suffering in the world? If you're empathetic and maybe you're feeling the pain of other people, of cultures, of animals, whatever your cause is, that makes you feel that way, it can become so difficult. And at some point you can become cynical, and it's easy after a long time to become negative. That's why I call it a grumpy old man. You get set in your ways and you're frustrated with the way the world changes around you, feeling powerless to do anything about it. And then your response then is to be negative and pessimistic, okay? Just so using that as an example, check in with yourself, first of all, and say, am I being negative? Is there something I'm kind of being a Debbie Downer about? Am I less than positive with my approach to situations and interactions with people in the world? And as well, there's so much suffering. Well, everyone's going to rip you off anyway, or everyone's out to make a buck. There's a lot of that going on. Doesn't mean that stuff isn't true, but you can give up that grumpiness. You can give up that pessimism, okay? Even if it seems like the deck is stacked against you and life is hard. And it is, okay? I can't emphasize that enough. It's true. It's amazing we're all still here. And if you're listening to me right now, you're here. So let's keep it going, all right? Let's try to find a way to improve our situation. And it goes, again, from the inside out. So you can be frustrated with the world, but if you're frustrated, that's something in your inner world that you need to work on. So you can start by recognizing that fact and saying, wow, I'm really kind of a downer when it comes to that. That came out of my mouth when I got offered something. I think, well, that'll just blow up in my face. Oh, here we go again. They're just going to let me down again. Any kind of cynicism or this negativity is not going to help you. So you can surrender. You can surrender that up. You can say, I give up. Okay? Mayday, please help. Take my pessimism, take my bad attitude, give it up to a higher part of yourself, send it out into the universe, and reinforce and tell yourself, hey, I would like to think more positively. I want to wake up thinking, well, what good can happen today? All right? Because if you ever ask, well, what else can go wrong? Guess what? You're going to get an answer, okay? Because something else can always go wrong. It's also true that something else can always go right. So tune your mind in, tune your feelings, sharpen your focus into what is good about me that I can bring to every situation. Even within myself, how can I think and feel better within me, about my connection with other things? Okay? It doesn't mean there aren't going to be bad things and difficult people. That's probably not going to change so much. But when you change your attitude towards it and you're sending off a more positive vibe, you're going to attract more of that. You're going to recognize more of that. I think a lot of good things are out there in the world. We just don't recognize them because we're tuned to a different frequency. And if you're tuned to a negative frequency or pessimistic or cynical frequencies, you're going to get more of that because there's plenty of that in the world. And there's plenty of people that can support that. Misery loves company, right? And it can be hard to go out in the world, a negative, harsh world, as a positive, open, optimistic person. People might even think you're crazy if you go around thinking like that. But emanate from the inside out. Become positive within yourself. What's good about me? What can I bring to this world that's going to improve me. And even the negative situations or the difficult conditions that you encounter, you will be able to find some sort of gift or a hidden answer or silver lining, as they say, inside a cloud. All right? That you can, through this challenge, learn a lesson, something useful. Okay? Something, and that's positive, that's progressive, that's growing. If you can learn and move forward and find the one good thing in the person at the restaurant or wherever you are or at work, find the one good thing in the interaction. If you're in an accident and it's a fender bender and it's going to be an insurance nightmare and the other person is being a jerk about it, well, you know what? If you didn't get hurt, you didn't get hurt. Focus on the good stuff. Focus on the glass being half full. Or actually, you know what? That whole glass half empty, half full thing, half of it's empty of water or whatever liquid is in it, and the other half is full, but it's actually full of everything. Half air, half water. That's completely full, okay? Look at the fullness. Look at the positive. Try to find it, even if you can only find one redeeming thing about wherever it is you go, at work or on your commute, or you're going grocery shopping. Find the one good thing. Say, well, that was good. There may be 9 other bad things or unpleasant things. You want to focus on those 9, or you want to focus on that one good thing? Because when you do focus on the one good thing and you surrender, you give up all these other things, your right to be right or your need to be right or to be vindicated. Maybe you don't need to force that so much, okay? That can be something that you're attached to, you can grasp onto, and it can really bring you down. Bring this positive attitude and try to find the good in the world, in other people, and most of all, in yourself. So surrender, give up, wave the white flag, call Mayday on the radio, okay? Say, I give up. I can't go on like this, thinking negative thoughts. Low self-esteem, poor self-image, frustration, wounds, anything that you have that can be working against you. Surrender. Give it up. Give it up to a higher power and allow a new opportunity, a new experience, and a new life, both inner and outer, for you. And I want to hear what you have to say about that. And until then, surrender, but don't give yourself away. See you next time on Living the Inner Life.